Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WildWeiler Weekly Wrap. As always, I am WildWeiler. So, summer, it started. It's in full swing. I am sweating. Yeah. Anyway, summer, it's in full swing. I've wasted no time wasting time. So while I'm wasting time, I did a tremendous amount of time wasting this week, and that's mostly what we're going to talk about, which is to say, I just played a bunch of video games and watched a bunch of TV. So let's get into it. I've been playing a little game called Medieval Dynasty. And it's a craft 'em up, survival, peasant simulator, serfdom extraordinaire. I really like it. I really like it. It hits all the bits perfectly for this type of game. Like the type of game where it's a little tedious, it's a little repetitive. It does it, I think, just about right. The level of stuff I have to do versus stuff that the game does for me is about right. My favorite thing is if you want to make soup, you better have carrots. And I mean that seriously, like, in a very real way, my favorite game for crafting foods is RuneScape. Because to make bread, you have to get flour. And to get flour, you have to pick wheat. And it's just really involved. And Medieval Dynasty kind of does that. Like, I can grow wheat, I can mill it into flour, I can make bread. It's really good in that specific regard. And that is what I do truly love about it. Like, I'm serious. Like, the crafting, you have to get the stuff. It's really nice. You can build homes. You can hunt deer. You can engage in a steamy romance. Now, the depths of this romance are exactly as deep as the charisma minigame in the Elder Scrolls V Oblivion. So, yeah, it's good, obviously. A lot of the depth in the game comes from managing your medieval hamlet, which is neat because the management is intuitive, it's deep, and the NPCs aren't stupid. Like, you don't have to manage them all the time once you have what they need, like, figured out and set up. And that is great, frankly. My only criticism is the multiplayer map, and I guess the single player map to a lesser extent has this problem, is small. I don't know how to solve that problem because the game is made with such a high fidelity that making it bigger would be a tremendous amount of effort. Due to how, like, shapes work, for example, like if the map is square and you wanted to go from 5 units by 5 units to, say, 6 units by 6 units, you're going from 25 to 36, which is 11 units. It's nearly a 50% increase on the 25 units. This isn't as bad as, say, a circle getting bigger, but it is still worth noting that, like, oh, that gets big, you know, like that kind of keeps going up. Actually, no, that one goes down. That one's inversely proportional. But my point kind of remains the same. Like, there is this level where it's like, oh, that's a lot of work. Like, it is just a lot of work. So I get it, but also, like, it's a medieval game, and I feel like I can get into town from my settlement, no matter where it is on the map, too easy. Like, it has a concept of seasons and days and whatnot, and it's really good and nice. The problem is I would like to be like, oh, it's autumn. Autumn is the season we do the, like, 2-day trek into the trade town for market day, you know? And I get that that isn't, like, fully medievally accurate. Most towns were within a day, or actually, honestly, like, a few hours of walking distance, if that, because towns were smaller. But also, the way the game works is not, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I wish there was just a tiny bit more isolation, and there is nowhere on the map for the multiplayer mode where I feel like I get the right amount of isolation for my town, you know? And that might come from, now I'm just kind of waxing a bit, that might come from the fact that I live on the West Coast in America, and our old-timiness is like the days of the Silver Rush, where people just lived in the mountains and made it into town once a year. You know, like that is just something that happened. And yeah, that is that. Sorry for the clicks. Anyways, let me be clear. Realistically, those are minor nitpicks. As much as I would like the game world to be as big and expansive as, say, a Project Zomboid, I do love the game, and I'm not seriously criticizing it for having a manageable map size. If you're into that genre of game, Medieval Dynasty is great. I recommend you check it out. There's a part of me that is like, I want to get some friends together and do a relatively hardcore playthrough where we like crank up the difficulty a little bit, like make weather pretty unforgiving. Make it so people, like, you gotta re-roll your character if you die if you haven't established a dynasty. I don't know the best way to do that because an in-game day takes an hour, and if you're doing the default 3 days per season, that means each year is a 12-hour commitment, and your heir takes a long time to grow up, so I don't even know how that works. I don't know if you can become your heir. I assume, but like, if we just do the rough math there, what's 7 times 12? 84? That's nuts. That's 84 hours of gameplay for one heir to reach age 7. Assume they're born the moment you start playing, which won't happen. So, I'm stuck, you know? I'm stuck because, on the one hand, I want the game to have a slower pace, and on the other hand, I want it to have a faster pace. So what is the dog to do? Well, I don't know. But you should play Medieval Dynasty. It has up 40% off on Steam and will be until July 24th. So, enjoy. Remember last week when I explained the very concept of television? Kids, you don't know what a television is? Basically, it's like a computer that could only show you YouTube, but you couldn't rewind the YouTube, and it had way less channels than YouTube. It was weird. Well, I watched all of a show called White Collar, which was on the USA Network from 2009 to 2015, I think. Basically, the time I was in college in my early career years. Fundamentally, the show is about a forger who gets caught for criming and gets arrested by the FBI and serves his penance by, like, consulting on cases. And that's like all I really want to get into. It is peak 2009 camp television. My biggest complaint about the show, accepting it for what it is camp television wise, is that it's called White Collar, but most of the crimes are like art forgery, which I suppose is a white collar crime, but it is kind of interesting that passing off fake bills and check fraud, the difference between it being not white collar crime and white collar crime is all in the amount, you know? I try to pass off a fake 10 at a grocery store, and that's a petty crime. Still a federal crime, don't get me wrong. But, like, somebody tries to pass off $1 million fake dollars, and that's white collar? Come on, you know? Anyways, so that's my big complaint, and I think it's because if it were to be about real white collar crimes, you know, like real estate fraud or rent control fraud or all these frauds that only specifically rich people can do that aren't buying stolen art, then, like, I don't know, maybe the consulting producer would just know too much, and that would be a little bit of a problem, don't you think? I think so. Anyways, White Collar's on Netflix if you're interested. It's 6 seasons long. I watched way too much of it, and I can't decide if I want that time back or not. So, do with that information as you will. Up top, I mentioned that I played a lot of video games this week. That happened. The other video game I played a lot of was Space Marine 2. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, for those of you wondering. In many ways, it's better than the first one. It's smoother, it's more reliable, it is less inscrutable, or more scrutable, if you're nasty. But the campaign doesn't flow well. It just really doesn't. The first game, you dropped on the planet, and the campaign started, because there was no way back to the ship, because the planet was in bad shape, frankly. And you just had to shoot your way from A to B on that one. And this one doesn't look like it's doing that. You're always flying back to the ship to, like, fill out HR paperwork or attend a sermon or take a painting class or do some pottery or kiss the homies goodnight. which is fine. It's cool to see more 40k lore thrown in there, but like, boy, does it kill the flow a little bit to be like, the Tyranids, they're eating everybody, boss. They're eating the people over there. They're eating the people over there. But you gotta go back to the ship because the captain wants to talk to you, and like, he's out of weekend minutes, so you gotta fly. For the young people, when we first got cell phones, they charged you more if you called during weekdays than weekends, so you had like separate buckets for minutes. It was really confusing. It just, your phone usage was based off of minutes. You know how now we have unlimited data? Think about that, but for like calling, where you didn't even have unlimited call. Okay, now calling is when you would use your phone to like, you do a Discord. You'd use your. It was still good fun. It's still good fun. It's still good fun. I will say that. It is good space marine and fun. There's something about firing a heavy bolter into a crowd of alien flesh that just pleases the dog emperor. So, I salute you. Yeah, that does it for this week, everybody. I did manage to make some art. I'm not sharing that because I don't feel like it. So stay tuned, because one day I'll make an art I feel like sharing. As always, thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.